Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Resilient Riches. We got Corey Overtime Anderson, and the reason why he's overtime is the definition of what this podcast is about. It's about resilience. It's about not always being the best, but being the guy who works the hardest and can always push and can always drive forward. Corey has knocked out some of the most successful people in the world, one of the biggest UFC and MMA fighters in history. He holds the record for the fastest knockout in Ultimate Fighter Championship history. Corey's a staple when it comes to MMA and fighting and Bellator and UFC and all these battles. Corey is the man when it comes to that, and he's really a staple. I'm assuming he has an incredible work ethic, an incredible story for everybody today. He's got 2 young kids, which is also went overtime. Probably could have been tagged by his wife, but we're really excited to have you, Corey, to come on. Can you give us a little background about you? Give us a couple minutes about how you got to where you are, and then I got a ton of questions for you. I'm talking to a celebrity today.
And the logo on your hat and your shirt, we need to know.
Well, that's Monster Energy. So I'm a Monster athlete. So one of my biggest sponsors is Monster. So I do interviews and podcasts and stuff fighting related. And part of the deal is you represent the brand. So here I am. When I'm out at fights and whatnot, go out and watch the fights last night. We wear Monster stuff because they pay me to be a Monster athlete, and that's my job, to represent the company. Little background on me as a person, like Corey Overtime Anderson, MMA fighter, entrepreneur, outdoorsman, come from a small town in Illinois. The youngest of 4, I grew up wrestling, playing football, working for my father's business, just always grinding, hustling. I wasn't always a good athlete. I heard one of your podcasts with Kendall Crossing, talking about how one of y'all wasn't that good. He just kept working and got in shape and everything. And I listened to it, and that was the thing that really made me want to jump on, because that was literally the same story here. In high school, I was the kid that was voted, like for the wrestling team, least voted to do anything in life. I was like one of the only kids from my high school that didn't make it to state to go on to college and wrestle. At one point in life, I was 300-pound, 17-year-old with no future, no plans doing anything in college. And then just one day, everything just kind of changed for me. I met some great coaches in my life that influenced me, that I still deal with today. One of the coaches I work with, I'm an assistant college wrestling coach now as well. Work with him side by side. And the reason I do that is because if it wasn't for him, and I do it voluntarily, I don't even get paid to it. I volunteer my time there. When I tell the kids, I come here and do this because if it wasn't for him, it would be no me. So at least I can do is come back and give back to the man that changed my life. And that's just it. Ever since then, I've worked hard. Everything I've done, everything I do. I talked to that coach today this morning when we got off the phone. Said, work hard. I said, always, coach. I don't know anything else. And so that's just me in a nutshell. Just a hard-working guy. And everything I do, if I do it, I'm going to be the best. I'm going to do everything I can to be the best at it. And if not, I'm not going to waste my time. And,
I love that. I love that you're constantly saying work hard. There's a lot of people that do work really, really hard out there, but you work hard but are also ultra successful in everything you choose. How are you combining your work ethic and, I mean, you're no dummy, so how do you combine your brains and your work ethic to work together? Because a lot of this is strategy, a lot of this is tactical. How are you mixing the two to keep achieving this like unbelievable success you're having?
I mean, you go back into the Rocky days, back in the 80s, it used to be work hard, work hard, work hard. And nowadays you got all this scientific things, the scientists, these sports psychologists, and everybody says, oh, you don't have to work so hard, you just got to work smarter. Well, I have 2 college degrees. I've been to many colleges. I've coached college wrestling. I've been to the highest in the sport, MMA, and I take everything I have and I work smart, but I also work hard. I just work hard while I'm working smart. Everything I'm doing, I'm working as hard as I can. If I'm doing a light drill and I'm pushing the pace where I'm breathing to exertion where I feel like I might pass out, and I'm going live, it's the same thing. When I'm with my kids, the same thing. I'm going to be the best father I can. Like I said, I'm outdoors. I have a hunting show. I'm out there in the woods. I'm ripping and running, trying to find the sign to make it happen, make it count. So the next time I go out here and hunt, I'm going to have success. But it's tiring. It's a lot of energy exerted. It's nonstop. Like I said, over time I can get that from the wife, and she actually gets mad at me because I'm always doing a million things. I do everything 100%. It's not like, oh, just go easy. It's like in everything I do, I want it fast, I want it hard, I want it now. And that's just that's just the mindset I have and everything I do. So even if I fail, I'm not going to be upset. I'm going to come right back to the drawing board and rewrite up the plan, and we're going to do it again the next time, even harder. And if it don't work, we're going to do it the next time, even harder, until eventually it's going to work. It's going to stick. It's like they say, throw crap on the wall and see what sticks. And that's just me. I'm okay with failing all the time just to find out that success.
Yeah, so that's really interesting that you're saying, because I have a very similar feeling, is that I have no problem making mistakes and failing, but what I do is I look at my mistakes. I'm constantly obsessive about my mistakes, and then I go, okay, what did I do wrong? What can I make better? And I leave that to the side. So when I'm learning, I'm not learning necessarily only from other people. I do so many repetitions that I'm able to make a mistake, learn from all the repetitions, and then do better and better and better, and constantly fine tune it, which is exactly what you're saying. It's like when you're working overtime, that means that you put in your time, you did the fights, you did everything that you're supposed to do, but then overtime is also looking back at what you did, fine tuning it, and constantly pushing. And that's really, I think that's really the epitome of you, because you've lost some fights, and then next thing you know, you're coming back and beating the same people, and you keep pushing and changing things around to constantly fine tune. Can you talk to us a little bit about the difference between UFC, Bellator? What was your transition between the two? Because obviously people think that the UFC is the ultimate and then Bellator, but I actually see a lot of the big fighters are now going into Bellator. You and many others are leaving the UFC and going to Bellator. A lot of it's because of, I think, because of how people are getting paid at the UFC. They don't feel like they're getting their fair share. But can you talk a little bit about the dynamics between the two?
I mean, it's pretty simple. You talk to people, and you hear people that don't really know MMA that come up and say, "Oh, do you UFC?" They're really saying MMA, but they only relate MMA to the words or the letters UFC, because UFC is the number one promotional program out there, the business out there. They're big on promoting. They got 43 million followers, maybe even more than that. Who knows? But the thing is, they spend a lot of their money and time marketing, which makes it the top. That's going to be what everybody sees or knows is what everybody sees, and that's UFC. As for Bellator, in the past, they didn't market as much, but they have the talent and the money value was there, which is how I ended up in Bellator. When I was in UFC, I left the UFC ranked number 3 in the world. And to this day, I think just because I left UFC and went to Bellator, I dropped down, I think, number 5 now in the world, whatever it is. And that's just because a lot of people don't know what's going on. They don't see us fighting. They don't get advertised. They don't advertise us as much. And they try to say the opponents are a lesser value. But as somebody who's fought in both, I can literally say the fight I lost here was tougher against the guys. Like the guys I beat in the UFC is like I was beating the crap out of them and got caught and got knocked out. As for this guy, he just beat me from pretty much start to, I ain't gonna say start to finish, but more than half the fight, he was beating me until I picked it up and turned it up. But by then, I was too far on the scorecards. And the guys I beat were a little tougher to beat than the guys I beat over in UFC. And the big thing is the money value. You know what I mean? That's why a lot of these guys are leaving now. I was actually out at Buffalo Wild Wings yesterday watching the fights, and a guy came up to me that recognized me, who had talked to another UFC fighter just earlier this week, and he was saying like he thinking when his contract is over in the UFC, he's going to come over to Bellator because he's seen some of the stuff that I've posted, other fighters have said about the fact when they leave from UFC, like, yes, when you're UFC, you're a star, you get known because you're promoted and people talk about you all the time. But I also made a post the other day. Somebody, why don't you go back to UFC for the glory now that you got the money? But glory doesn't pay bills. Glory doesn't get my kids into college and stuff like that. And that's what it's about. We're prize fighters. We're fighting for the prize. Yes, it's cool to be known, placed, and to be a celebrity if that's what you want. But if you want to make a living to where you can take care of your family and set your family up for generational wealth, which is what I'm trying to do, I made the right choice. I went to where the money was. The bread was buttered even better. And I'm still getting my recognition, and now I'm making the money. And that's pretty much the big thing. You got UFC, Bellator, and now Bellator is owned by PFL, so that's 2 of the top organizations. PFL was number 3, but now you got number 2 and number 3 combined together as one banner, fighting together to compete, to promote as UFC. And that buyout just happened in November or December. And from what I see, me and my wife was talking about it this morning, they're already doing a better job promoting under the PFL banner, representing the fighters than in the past. So that also is going to help us catch up to the UFC even faster.
I think also I find that UFC, because Rogan's there, I think they pump so much through Joe Rogan and through his interviews and his podcast that he's getting so much views. But I find that a lot of the podcasters as well are pumping much more into the Bellator fighters because they're finding. I find more talent with the Bellator fighters. I find more talent with guys who just go, you know what, like I don't need. And we were talking a little bit before the podcast. I don't need the fame. I don't care. Like. Just so our audience can hear, how come you weren't getting the prize fights and I mean, you did get some of the championship fights, but how come you didn't get the championship fights in UFC? And why did you switch over to Bellator? And then I have a follow-up question right after that.
Like I said, it's all about the marketing. So one of my last fights, the second to last fight, probably the biggest fight of my career when I fought Johnny Walker, was one of the biggest names they had at the time at 205. And everybody swore he was going to splatter my brains and kill me. There was no way Corey Anderson could compete with this guy. He's so flashy, he's so extreme and blase. And I went out there and knocked him out in the first round. And then I got a little attraction. But before that fight, when I went to the office, I didn't want that fight. I had just beat the number 3 guy. I beat the number 5, number 4, and the number 3 and number 3 back to back. Like I just beat top 4 guys in the world. Like, why am I fighting a kid that was unranked because he was hyped up? And they literally told me, like, well, if he beats you, he gets a title fight. Like, okay, and if I beat him, what happens? Nothing. Like, what do you mean? Like, we got to get some attraction behind you because he has almost 1 million followers at this time, and I only have 40,000. Like, I told the media, like, after I beat the number 3 guy last time, they go, oh, you're next for a title fight, right? And I said, nah, I doubt it. Why can you say that? Like, because they can't promote 4.3 million versus 40,000. They won't do that in the followers. It just won't work. I said, well, it makes no sense. You're the best. And literally, they told me that day in the UFC office, Hunter Campbell said it. He was like, look, we're in the business. It's not about who's the best anymore. It's about who's going to put the butts in the seat and can sell the most tickets for us. And the only way we can get you a title fight is if you get the needle to move and get some attraction behind you and start getting more followers. Once we can build that up, then we can give you a title fight. Well, anybody that knows me knows I'm not a guy that's going to go out there and do all the stuff they want me to do, sell my soul and do the stuff that have me in TMZ and in the news to get in trouble. That's going to make you have a following. That's just not who I am. So we knew that wasn't going to happen. It's going to be a hard road forward. And yeah.
Is that how I'm actually more of a layperson. I don't really know too much about any of it. But is that how the other person built up that 1 million following? By being like a star and doing bad things and getting attraction? Is that how it happened?
Some of the guys, like you got John Jones and all those guys John Jones is a great martial artist, but he was always in the news getting in trouble, DUIs, getting popped for having cocaine in the system, taking steroids before the fights and failing drug tests. And then he was just he was a good fighter, but he was always in the media. So he was always somebody to be talked about. I just say good publicity or bad publicity. Publicity is publicity. As long as you got people coming to your page, they're going to be following along. They want to see you either win or want to see you lose. As for me, I only post family stuff. I post hunting stuff. I post a little bit of training, but I don't do anything wild. I'm not out there. I don't drink.
You do jokes. You do fun. Like
I have fun and stuff. I'm not doing the wild stuff. I don't cheat on my wife. I don't go out and drink and drive. I don't do drugs. So I was a type. People say it all the time, like, you're a boring fighter. Like, a boring fighter is the guy that's winning in a smart fashion. But you want me to go out there, the other guy will go out and do jumping, spinning stuff off the cage, cartwheels, backflips, dance on his way to the cage. He actually hurt himself celebrating after a fight. He tore his own shoulder doing the worm. It's like, I don't take those risks. I'm going to be smart about it. I'm going to walk to the cage. I'm going to beat you. I'm going to get my hand raised. I'm going to go back living my life as a family man. But that's not what people want to see.
Well, you said something very interesting before, that your goal was to build generational wealth. You don't build generational wealth by being a schmo. You don't build generational wealth by being a schmuck and doing cocaine and doing all these drugs. What you will build is money, but not wealth. You'll build money. Your kids will inherit the money, and then they'll blow it in 2 seconds because they think that getting in trouble and having money are equal. But for you, it's getting to work, teaching your kids, getting to work, making money, earning money, and then passing it down to your kids, and they go, my dad worked hard, and I'm not going to scrounge.
Even for us, we say resilient riches. What does that mean? It doesn't just mean dollars. It means resilient riches in your whole life, which, Corey, I really admire you because you're building that. You're building resilient riches, part of your family, showing your kids the right way, being a proper husband, being a proper father. That's all part of riches. Being that resiliency for your whole life, not in just one aspect of it. That's what we promote, and that's what you're promoting, I think. And maybe that's another reason that you thought that would be a good fit to come on our podcast.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, and my father has a multi-million-dollar roofing business, Union Roofing Company, he's had for years. And he's at that point now where he wants to get out of it and he wanted me to take over. I told him, that ain't what I want to do, man. That ain't what I want to do. And at the end of the conversation, I told him, look, man, what I'm doing, like you can't, well, he don't know I make probably more than he was making roofing fighting over the years. But he was like, you'll never make this kind of money. I was like, you're right, but I'm happy. What I'm doing, I'm happy. I'm spending this time with my kids. I can wake up every day, hang out with my kids, bring my kids to the gym, and my kids can see what I'm doing, and they can do the same stuff I can or do what they want to do. I'm not going to make them do what they want. I'm not going to make their choice for them. But I'm happy. My family's happy, and they get to see their father work hard every day. I can't replace that. This is what I want to do. I'm living the life I want to live right now. In our conversation, he said, you know what? You can't replace happiness. And that's the biggest thing. I want my kids to be happy, know where the money came from. They see me earn it every day. They know daddy never sold his soul to the devil. He woke up every day the same way. He go to bed the same way. He wakes up, he reads his Bible, he does recovery, he trains, he does this, and he does it the way he should be. And hopefully they see that and they can teach their kids the same stuff and just continue down generations that the family name on my side will never be tarnished. That everybody will know that Anderson side, their father, or their great-grandfather, or their grandfather, whatever it is, that guy was a straightforward, hardworking guy. He did it the right way. And you can see it paid off through them down the long road.
Where did you get this? This is not normal. Where'd you get this? You got to tell us, like, what there was a moment in your life that you decided this is what you want to be.
He said in college he was 300 pounds and he met somebody and that changed everything.
Let him answer. What do you know? Let him know. You
well, like your dad said, it happened throughout college, a mixture of college and the people I've had. Me and my wife talk about it all the time. I've been blessed with the coaches I've had. I've been to 3 different colleges. And even in one college, the second college I went to, the head coach was a horrible guy. That's the reason why I left there. But the assistants and other people I met through him ended up being great people in my life, people I use as mentors to ask questions and learn from. And then when I transferred to the new colleges, the different coaches I kept meeting, they introduced me to people along with my family, my father, my mother, the things they instilled in us as believers and good people, good wholehearted people. One thing my mom always said is, I don't care if nobody's watching you. You always do what's right. Like if you can get away with it scot-free, you always do what's right. That's just always been something that's been on me. That's always been on my conscience. I don't think I slept with another woman, like not losing my virginity, but slept at another woman's home until I was 23 years old. That's because things my mom would say, like you don't ever sleep with a woman until you're married. I was having sex, but I wasn't sleeping at their house. So to me, I thought I was cool.
that counts.
Following the rules.
I followed the rules in a way.
Yeah, Mom, I listened to you. I listened to you, Mom. I did everything you told me.
So
I was there for 20 minutes, and then I just went home.
Exactly.
What are you going to tell you're going to tell your kids the same thing, or you're going to be more specific?
Oh, I mean, especially with my son, I'm gonna tell my son the same thing. My daughter, I'm gonna be more specific. She gonna have a taxi, but she like 40. I don't care. That's my girl.
You ain't leaving this house, and you ain't sleeping or anything.
No sleepovers, no girls' nights, no none of that. You staying home.
Just stay in your room. Just stay in your room and let me know where you are at all times.
Exactly.
I'm Overtime Anderson. I'm watching you.
Yes.
Overtime.
Gonna be watching too.
Something. Do you see any of your characteristics in your kids now? Like, can you see how they can grow into that way?
And my 4-year-old, my son, like he's like my mini me. Like he wants to do everything daddy does. Like I get up, shoot my bow, he want to go shoot his bow. I'm outside training the driveway, jump rope and battle ropes, whatever it is. Once I finish my set, he's picking up the jump rope or the battle rope behind me. He's just started jiu-jitsu. I'll come home and he'll have his compression, his boxer briefs on. He'll see when daddy fights or spar, I'll wear boxer briefs. They come around the corner like, Dad, look, I got my fight shorts on. Let's fight. Let's wrestle. It's like that. And my wife used to looking at him like, he's going to be just like, and I hope not, because I don't want him to fight. But I want the mindset. I want the fact of working hard. And I've actually told him 3-4 weeks ago, he kept saying, Daddy, I can't. And I grabbed him. Look at me, man. We don't say we can't. You might not be able to do it right now, but you can. You can't always believe you can. And I came home and said something to my wife, man, I can't believe that happened. And he came around the corner like, Daddy, we don't say that. We don't say can't hear. I was like, you're right, man.
Gotcha.
I
He caught you.
Exactly, but that's my man. He's paying attention. And that's the thing. The kids don't do what they tell you. They do what they see you do.
Absolutely.
Every morning I get up and I read my Bible. The other day my wife got a picture. I was sitting on the couch reading my Bible. My daughter was next to me with her kid's Bible. My brother was next to her, or my son was next to her with his little Bible, watching me, acting like they was reading. It ain't what you tell them. You got to set the example. Do as I say, not as I do is what they say, but they always going to do what they see you do, not
Absolutely.
what they hear you say.
Absolutely.
100%. What are you going to do? Let me ask you, the George Foreman movie that just came out a couple months ago. Foreman.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Your story reminds me a little bit of his.
I mean, here's a little different though. George was he was getting in trouble and stuff and out mugging people for money. As a you know, but it's about one and the same. You found a mentor, somebody that could change your life, and that's another reason why I want to be a good example. Now, even if you never meet me, if you can go back and see my story or read my story, you can see all you gotta do is find the right people, find the right circle of people.
What are the tips to find those people? How do you find the right mentors? Because there's a lot of people that want mentors, but it's very hard to find them. You have energy, you have love, you have passion. How are you finding the right mentors, and how are you telling people to look around when they're looking for mentors?
I mean, you live the right life, and the people attract themselves to you. Honestly, like I didn't go out and reach out and ask anybody to be my mentor. It's just I was being Corey Anderson, and somebody would introduce me like, "Yo, this kid is a great kid." Even after I graduated college, before I graduated, I actually had my college coach and the dean of the school. Somebody reached out to some guy who owned an insurance agency, and the guy left me a voicemail like, "Mr. Anderson, I know you never met me, but I've heard from a lot of people that you are a great guy, and you're the type of person I would want to run an insurance agency for me. I'm thinking about bringing an insurance agency to your area, and I would love for you to be the owner and run it for me." Like I've never had no idea or anything about it, so I didn't plan on it. But the fact that people talk so highly of my name or my characteristics as a hard worker and the way I carry myself, this guy who was looking for somebody to run a business for him had belief that, oh, maybe this is the kind of guy I need to get in contact with and give him this opportunity to run this business. You know, it's just, like I said, I've never actually reached out, emailed to people. Actually, I reached out to Trent Cole, who was an NFL player, and asked him if I can come hang around and figure out how he do stuff, because he's a guy in the outdoor industry who does right. But other than that, everybody else is just people that just happen to come by in meetings, or I go to a trade show and introduce myself to some company, and also we build a relationship where years later we still working together and we were still partnering together, and they still telling people about, man, this Corey guy, he's great. He's doing great for our company. You guys should reach out to him. And I get an email or a phone call like, oh, Eric Griggs says you would be a great fit here. So what do you think about this? It's kind of like the word of mouth thing. You carry yourself the right way and people are going to flock
That's
to you.
definitely our business also. I mean, our business, financial services, is all referral. We do some right job for someone. We're looking after their interests and doing what's best for them. They tell somebody else, look, you got to meet Yair, you got to meet David, you got to meet the Kleiman boys. I like to be called a boy. But, that they're going to help you with that. It's the same kind of idea. It's like, it's the referrals. But what happens now, Corey? I mean, you're 34, getting towards, I imagine, towards the end of your fighting career. It can only go on, can't go on forever. What's the next step? Like, when do you see retiring? What's the next step for you?
So my thing has always been, well, not always, before it was be retired about 31. I got in the game at 23. So I got in it young. And then the pandemic happened and everything slowed down. My fights weren't going away. Like I wasn't getting as many fights as I wanted to. Then we started having kids. Then the goal was to be done. The goal is now, the solid goal is to be done fighting by the time my son starts school. He's 4 right now. He's doing homeschool, pre-K and all that, learning the rights and wrongs at home with mom. But the moment he has to start going to school and he has events and stuff, I'm done for sure. But if that happens a little later than we plan, 36 is going to be the cutoff. 100%, like no further than 36, no matter what. And
then what? And then what do you have plans? You have ideas? I'm sure you've got plenty of stuff that you're going to be doing.
See, like I said, I went to school and got 2 degrees. I never planned on being a fighter. I planned on being a businessman. So I've always had a business plan. That was one thing you learn in business. You got to have a business plan and you run with it. So the one thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to start my own business, an engineering business, doing blueprints and designing bridges. But that went out the way. So now after I've been fighting all that, I've coached college wrestling. part of my plan is to open a gym. You know, I've been to different gyms. I've seen how the gyms are ran. My wife has been the GM at 2 major gyms in the U.S. She has that. She used to fight. We have that blueprint. So we're going to open a gym. That's one plan. The other thing is rental properties. We're starting that this year. That's the goal. We've been finding houses already. After this fight, we're going to start finding some rental houses and try to put like people that can't afford to buy houses, low income people, into single family homes, get them started and keep that and that money coming year round. But make sure they're good tenants so we can going to get our rent every month, have that going. And on top of that, like I said, I have an outdoor hunting show already. I didn't say exactly, but I'm outdoors. I have a hunting show. I make money doing that, traveling the world hunting, getting paid. Like I said, name overtime, I have books and pages of different ideas of things I can do to make money, from car washes, the laundromat, storage units, different things, ideas. But the goal right now is this year to get started on one of them. And the first thing right now is the rental properties. We already have hunting properties and land that we've bought to hold on to. Eventually, one day, at Amazon market, somebody's going to be looking for a place to go, and we're just waiting for that knock. Hey, we'll offer you $10 million for that big plot of land you got, and the kids are set, you know. But it's just always, after every fight, taking a little bit of money, investing in something else. Investing in something else. Don't take that money and just spend it. Make sure we set the family up for something else.
So let me put on the table also what that person told you. If you're looking to do an insurance agency in your area, we can help you with that, to be an owner with you on that as well. Let me just put that on the table, just like that guy did a couple of years ago.
We'll put that in the notebook.
I love what you're saying. It's actually a really core fundamental financial conversation that you're having. A lot of people are very passionate about providing passive income while their incomes are really, really high. And right now, you're probably now or in the past few years have been the highest of your income. So people are looking for passive income, but I tell people all the time, you don't take passive income when your income is so high. Right now, you invest for growth. You invest where your taxes are not going to be high right now. If you grow and you're not taking out income on your assets and on your investments, then you're not going to pay taxes on that money. But once you retire, then you can turn on the passive income. Then you could turn on the income for yourself and have actual passive income that you won't pay such high taxes for, because your income will be lower. Right now, your income is high. Your tax bracket is high. So you wait for a point that your income is going to be lower, and that's when you turn on the spigot of income, so you'll pay a significantly lower tax bracket than you will currently.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that was clear. But that's really, it's actually a core fundamental financial instrument that you're doing. And storage units are huge. Mobile homes are huge. Affordable housing, because you can get the coupons from the government. That's huge. Low-income housing is enormous. You're talking about car washes. And the number one is actually the number one that I've heard in businesses right now is car washes, and laundromats but car washes. People say if you can buy a car wash, you're done. You don't ever have to think about money for the rest of your life. It's a crazy concept. The car wash, the mobile homes, all this stuff. But it's really interesting that you're talking about this. How are you learning about money? How do you think about money? How are you thinking about finances? Because a lot of what you said is really good financial advice.
I mean, just like you guys, you are financial advisors. I have 2 financial advisors myself, and I got people that's been in the NFL, people that's been to the top of the fight game, professional athletes, investors. I sit down and meet with them. About 5 years ago, I sat with Robert from Shark Tank and asked him some questions. I'm always, one thing about me, I never act like I know more than anybody. Like I said, to this day, like I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu. If I go to a class and it's a blue belt instructor, I'm going to ask him some questions. I always want to learn. What do you know that I don't know? And one thing my father always told me growing as a kid is you learn as much as you can, because once you got it, it's yours to keep. So if I'm around somebody that knows something I don't know, whether I use it or not, I'm going to ask as many questions as I can, whether I put it in my notebook or keep it in my storage up here. I'll have it that one day I know. And like I said, this storage unit and the car washes, those are things I heard from a businessman that my dad was working with when I was in high school. And it just stuck in my head. And now that I'm older and I see that and I look into it, it's like, man, that's crazy. A storage unit is probably that's like the most safest investment you can have. Or houses, or car washes, or a lot of stuff that's cash generated and it's no overhead. You don't pay anything after you got it. It's just money coming in. And again, in this fight game, Most guys, like I said, they want to be stars. They're looking for celebrity status. I'm looking for the money. I want to take care of making sure my bread is buttered. And they say it takes spending money to make money. And I didn't realize that until the last few years. It's like, yes, you have to invest in other stuff till one day that money adds up. But these guys that's fighting for celebrity status, they fight, they get their check, they go clubbing, they buying nice cars, they buying this and buying that. Then the next fight, they broke. And they don't have any investment saved, and they fighting every day for a paycheck. As for if I don't fight, right, if I had to retire right now, I'll be fine. I go to the banker, tell her, yo, I need such and such thousand to put in this. I need such and such thousand to put in this. Let's start making these moves. And the wheel will never stop rolling for me.
Yeah, the same thing. Honestly, it's the same thing with us. We spent so much time building up a passive income stream at such a young age that I've been saying to people for years, I could have retired a long time ago. And I just keep adding. Like for me, it's first was make sure I have enough money for myself. Then I went, okay, make sure I have enough money for myself and my wife. And then when I got to that point, I said, okay, let's make sure I have enough money for my first kid, my second kid. And then for me, it's also make sure I have enough money for the charities and for the passions that I find important that I also take under my belt. So how do I have enough passive income that I don't have to stress every single day and I can focus on? That's really the way to do this, is to constantly set yourselves up with goals, which is basically what you had. So if you had one value, Corey, that you can focus in and put at one word for yourself, what would that value be?
Be two of either family or hard work. You know, because I value my family more than anything. But hard work is just something you just never regret. I say to kids all the time when I'm coaching, when I'm talking to kids at seminars, I always tell them, like, yo, everything you do, you work hard. Because at the end of the day, if you fail, if you succeed, at the end of the day, you'll never look back and say, man, I regret working hard. You'll never say, I regret working hard. No matter what the outcome is, you're always going to make yourself better. Like I said, I was a 300-pound kid. Now, people see me on TV, they can never tell I was a 300-pound kid until I started working hard and life changed. And since whether I was where I am now or where I would have been as a businessman or working for my father, I knew my health was so much better from working hard. And that hard work has opened doors for everything else in my life. Our college wrestle, I took second in the country. I fell short, but I worked hard. And I thought it was over. And the phone call started ringing because everybody knew Corey Anderson worked hard. And they got me in the fight. And I worked hard until I got the call to go to the Ultimate Fighter. I won the Ultimate Fighter. It was 6 months fighting experience over guys who've been fighting their whole life because I worked hard on the show. I went to the UFC with 3 fights, made it to the top 10 within a year because I worked hard. Everything I've done, they say, what do you attribute it to? Hard work and God. That's it.
The important message I think that we've heard many times also with other people on the podcast is that, it's up to you to do it. It's you are able to do anything you want to do once you put your mind to it. You were 300 pounds. You decided you didn't want to be that anymore. You wanted to be something else. You put in the work, you put in the commitment, and you got it done, and you made it happen yourself. And I think that's an overriding message for everybody on our podcast, is that it's up to you. You can do whatever you want to do. You just have to decide and commit.
You can sit and point fingers at anybody and say, I'm not here because of them, or daddy didn't give me that, or mama didn't give me that, or that coach didn't put me in the game. I didn't start all through high school in football until like the end of my senior year. I didn't start in wrestling until my senior year. And I could have said, oh, my life is over because these coaches never gave me an opportunity. But instead, I use that as motivation. It's like I didn't work hard enough to deserve that spot. So guess what? The next chance I get, and I always said, the next chance I get, I'll make sure I work harder than I did then to earn that spot. When I lost a title fight the last time, I said, next time I get a title fight, I'll make sure I train harder than I did that fight. So I'll never fall short again. And here we are. We earned that title fight again. It's coming up. We're just working hard. No matter what, you can point fingers at everybody, but it's always going to be you. When you point one finger, there's 3 fingers pointing back. And those are the most important fingers in our life.
That's what I actually learned that about judging. The same exact thing. It's like I asked somebody when I was traveling by myself for a while. I asked somebody, I said, what is the least judgmental country in the world that you felt? And he said, if you point one finger at other people, 3 fingers are pointing at you. The most judgmental country that you can visit is yourself. And that's really what it is. If you can, it's all about mindset. did you have that turning point in your life when that? I mean, we keep talking about this 300 pounds when you were heavy, and you just decide to change things around. What made you decide that? What was that moment in your life that you said, I'm not going to be like I was before?
My coach, I never forget. I got that. I wanted to be smaller than 300. Just got tired of being fat and all that, but I didn't want to be great. I just wanted to be smaller, a little healthier, and be a hard worker. And that, again, working hard. I caught the eye of Stephen Bradley, who's a coach I work with now. I volunteer at his college and work with him. And I'll never forget, it was a Monday morning, just got off the weekend, college kids partying. And at 6 o'clock in the morning, I hear, what am I doing? I'll get out of bed thinking maybe I'm hearing stuff. I go back and hear it again. I go answer the door. This is Stephen Bradley. And he opens the door, or I open the door like, yo, what up? He was already at the campus at the time. So he was always on campus. Hey, look, man, I watched you in the room, and I've asked questions about you, and I did my research on you, and I know you weren't great in high school, and you weren't like a good athlete or whatever, but I can see you in the room now, and you want to be good. And he told me about himself, like I was number one recruited guy out of high school. John Smith and all the greatest coaches came to my living room and recruited me because I was that good of an athlete, and I can do that for you. Like, if you want to be good and you want to be great, we can start right now. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, if you want to be great, it starts right now. I'm like, all right, I want to be great. And he said, grab yourself. Let's go. 6 a.m. that Monday morning, every day, 6 a.m. He got to the point 6 a.m. So he was knocking till at 6 a.m. I would open the door and meet him. Like, all right, let's go. And it changed. Like, I saw the change. Like, I want to be like this guy. I want to be a national champ and be one of the best athletes in the world like he was at his time. I got to get up and do what he do. I got to do what the greatest did. And that was getting up every morning, work hard. And as we worked hard, I could see things was changing. Things got easier. And the mindset changed. Like I said, I was starting to get up at 6 a.m. on my own. It's just it's a habit now. We don't have to wait for somebody to get up. I want to be great. This is what we do. And you just surround yourself with the right people that's doing the right things you want to do, and you will flock to that. And if you flee, that's not really what you want in life. You're just saying it. You're talking it, but you really don't want it. If you want it, you're going to attract yourself to those people that's working hard. You're going to move yourself into a different circle of people. You're going to take yourself out of that one circle that wasn't helping you and drop yourself in a circle that you can learn from. You're no longer the smartest or the hardest working person in the room. You down with some lions and you just a little sheep. You got to figure out how you're going to become one of those guys. And that's what happened. I got to the point where I was just seeing how this coach was pushing me. I was like, yo, this shit sucks. And to the point, like, if I really want to be good, I got to stop thinking like that. It sucks. Like I say, embrace the grind. I got to make the best of this. I got to give it everything I got. And it got to the point where, like, you look forward to getting up at 6 a.m. I didn't want to go to sleep because I wanted to be in the gym all day. So I was motivated to get in there to be great. And that's where the name Overtime came. That's how I am now. I want to be in the gym all day long if I can, because that's what it takes to be the best.
Yeah, and that's what you're not stopped. And it's an amazing. You have an incredible story.
Awesome.
And it's an awesome story. And my dad also. I was telling him. I said, you know what? I know you don't know much. I know about Corey Anderson. I've watched you for years. I said, Dad, I don't want you to do any research. I want you to feel this right now and be authentic.
I never heard of you before, Corey. Sorry.
It's all right. I hear that all.
You know what my dad looked up? I said, Dad, he's an MMA fighter. He looked up on Google. He goes, mixed martial arts.
That's the boxing and the kicking at the same time.
Yeah, in a cage with knees and elbows.
I said, Dad, don't say anything. Don't call it Bella. Don't. He always pronounces things odd, which I don't
Canadian.
know why.
I say it's a Canadian accent. Yeah, you're Canadian.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't say it with a Canadian accent. He does it in a weird.
How would you know if it's Canadian or not?
Because I was born in Canada, so I think I have some.
You never like to admit that you were born in Canada.
I do, but so he says. I said, like, just don't say Bellatar like a crazy person. So he's
why is that a crazy person? I don't know why that has to be crazy.
Because it's a big organization. You got Corey and like it's just a bad look.
Okay, so I didn't say it. I made sure not to. I wasn't allowed to say it. Yeah, here restricts me. I'm not allowed to talk about Toronto where I grew up. I'm not allowed to talk about the weather. There's other things he doesn't let me talk about.
Very boring.
My career, my resume doesn't let me talk about those things.
He talks about how
Corey doesn't care about any of this.
No, Corey likes it. He appreciates it. He talks about how he got to this point in his life in real time. So it's not like a 2-minute story. It's like a 30 years.
I did a lot of things. I had a lot of things in my career. I could have a 5-page resume.
Hey,
It's that.
it takes some time to learn how to make your story from a long story to a short story.
Doesn't
Impossible.
care.
It's
No, he knows how to do it short.
It's
He doesn't.
impossible.
He knows how to do it short, but
Too
he
many things.
refuses.
It's too many
He
things I've done.
refuses. That's his problem. That's his real problem. But anyway, Corey, how can people find you? We really appreciate what you're doing, and you know what? To find someone like you who's wholesome, every athlete should have the Corey Anderson model. And I'm hoping that you write your book on how you became so successful and how you can give it to the athlete looking to make millions or billions. I think the athlete looking to make billions could be like your book and can really be something that you can change the way that people think about flash and all this throwing money and everything like that.
I like sports.
Really,
I like hockey, baseball. So you hear that there's nothing worse than hearing about an athlete that was at the top of his career making millions and millions of dollars, and now he's going bankrupt or he's broke. Nothing more sadder to hear than somebody like that.
they have to follow your model, and you're like one of the only people I've ever heard doing it.
I mean, my biggest thing is, like you said, family and rich generational wealth. For me, I tell people I'm the richest man in the world. It ain't about what I got in the bank accounts, but what I got at home. And the fact that I have everything I need between my wife and my kids and my family, my parents, my brothers and sisters, I don't care to spend money on the other stuff. You know what I mean? The things that people are looking for material happiness. They want to get that nice car. I was telling my little cousin, I hadn't seen since 3 years old. He's 23 years old now. I'm out here in Vegas training and staying with my other cousin. We went to dinner. And he was saying something about, man, I know you got all them nice cars and this and that. Well, yeah, I got a $100,000 car and a $100,000 truck, but it ain't because I want them. It was for tax reasons. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, I had so much money and I had the two businesses. I was driving I drive a daily 2014 Honda Accord Rust Bucket. That's my daily driver. I drive it, it'd be rattling, but I don't care. But I have the nice cars. My wife got a nice vehicle because the accountant said we got too much money. We got to do something. You're either going to give it to Uncle Sam or give it to yourself.
Sounds like a
you
big
got
problem.
the S Corp, you got the LLC. You are liable to get two vehicles for the S Corp and a vehicle for the LLC. So we take the money to buy that. For other stuff, I don't really care about it. Like, I'm wearing a hat, the Monster hat. I'm wearing sweatpants, stuff people give to me. I don't go to the mall to spend money so I can look good and look
It
flashy.
means nothing because it has no meaning.
Nothing. I tell people all the time, the goal is to be rich, not look rich. Like, I walk like I'm a homeless man. I wear sweats and stuff in public on purpose because I want people to think I have zero money. I go in to get a tailor suit that costs $3,000 or whatever a month, and I'm wearing the same outfit. I can tell they look at me judgmental, and all of a sudden I pay out the money to pay for it. They see me on TV, and I come in the next time like, oh, you didn't tell us you was this. Like, it's not my job to tell you. It's your job to treat me equally. That's it. It's like, I don't want you to know I got money, and that's the whole point. But that's just how I live life. I don't want to be flashy. I just want to be under the radar, get home to my family, take care of my kids. When I pass, they taken care of so they can take care of their kids, and I'll be a happy man for the rest of my life. That's all I need.
And your kids will be happy, and your grandkids will be happy, and your spouse will be happy, and the people you surround yourself with will be happy because of that. And it's really an amazing lesson. Corey, how can people find you? Give your plug if you can.
You can find me on Instagram at Corey A_MMA. That's COREY, the letter A_MMA. Or you can find me if you're in the outdoors and want to see me outdoors hunting and stuff with my kids. You got Outdoors with Overtime. It's another Instagram. That's on TikTok. It's on YouTube. I mean, all my core basics from the Corey MMA goes into all my pages. So it's all the same. Hardworking, humble, family man. That's
your brand. Man.
That's it.
I hope you write your book, Corey. I hope you write a book.
You know, you're probably like the 100th person that said that to write a book. I've heard people tell me to go be a motivational speaker. A lot of people tell me to be to do like a podcast. It's the thing. Like I said, I got so many things going on already.
The book
all of these are in the notepad.
The book I would say would be your core. Personally, I think the book for us, the podcast, because we're in the conversation business, but the book I would say I'll be your core. But we love your message. We love your brand. I mean, there's nothing better than what you're doing. It speaks exactly to us and speaks exactly to our audience. So it's wholesome, love, family. What I learned most about this is that if you run all the right stuff, you are healthy, you're a good person, you're a family person, opportunities come. You don't always need to chase opportunities. So if you do everything right, the good opportunities will come to you. Good people will find you. And that's how you get connected. And you just bring good energy and good vibes around everywhere.
That's the definition of resilient riches. That's the definition of it.
Always do what's right, and the right things will come to you. That's how I live
100%.
life.
Corey, thanks so much for coming.
It's great.
Thank you guys.
Great
Have
to
a
meet
good
you.
one.